Hello to everybody out there in our Montasy Comics extended universe. I'm Adam, and this is Jimmy.
Yes, last I checked.
Yep. And we are back with Montasy Presents Frequently Asked. Last time we took a deep, I would say pretty deep dive into the exciting world of trading card games and approaching them. And well, we have a couple of exciting topics for you this time. We'd like to start off by taking a look at, in a little bit more detail, the physical materials that might get you on that road to playing.
Yeah, absolutely. We realize, one of the questions that came up from our last episode is, you talked about all these great decks. Where are they? It was a complete blank canvas right in front of us. So we thought, you know what? It makes perfect sense as part of our recap to present some of the example of these lovely decks.
Absolutely. Last time what we were talking about is if you want to get into a game, buying something that is playable out of the box. Something that is designed for you to be able to, the term I like to use is pick up and play. And you could even, depending on your familiarity, whether you are completely new to a game or you're picking it up after returning for a long time, something that you can shuffle up, sit down with another person, and just get going. You don't have to take a look at, what cards am I putting in, what's good, what's bad. And one of the best things about these kinds of products is that they are usually designed, even if you have two different people with two different decks, they're usually designed to be playable on a relatively even keel. A great thing that we could point to, and a lot of different games do this, is something like the battle decks from Pokemon. When they release a product, often they'll release them in pairs or they'll release them in sets. My Hero Academia has a similar product going on here. And the idea behind that is that you don't need to say, okay, I have my deck that I just bought. Who am I going to play with? Oh, I'm going to play against my friend who's only going to be playing his deck that he built himself. Maybe he's just learning how to play, and as a result, that deck is not very well built and you really have an uneven playing field. Or maybe they've been playing for 10 years and it's got all of the best cards in the game and you don't even stand a chance. When you buy something that has two decks put together, the idea is that you could sit down with someone and really get to feel how things interact when you have a lack of a gap in power level. Sometimes products will come out that look like standalone products, but will still come as part of a set. So, for example, you might have standalone decks from Magic that aren't packaged together, but usually within each set there will be a series of different types of products or different decks that are all part of the same release, and as a result are still relatively even. That doesn't mean that everything is going to be exactly the same and that everything's going to be a perfect matchup.
And also, doesn't mean that you're going to go to a tournament and then you're going to win. That's one of the things that we always tell people.
Yep.
Hey, try it out. You could play in any tournament. You're not going to beat an experienced, well-constructed deck, but you'll have fun and you'll get to learn about the game. And one of the things about these intro decks is you can now add cards in if you want to. I like certain mechanics associated with these decks. I like these special colors. I like the characters. And that's how you could begin adding cards in the decks by opening packs and all that and so forth from that.
Absolutely. But that also, at the same time, means that you have a lot of room in which you can work. Like, you could say that you're not going to win a tournament with a deck that you buy out of the box, but at the same time, you could, if you wanted to, still play in a tournament with that deck.
Absolutely.
And a lot of products will be designed whenever there's a new set that comes out, or there's a new change to the rules and different cards become legal, they'll introduce a new product that you can play out of the deck. We've had moments in the store where there have been people who have walked in, they didn't know that there was going to be a tournament that day, but they said, I want to play. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy this deck off of the shelf. Or you'll have someone who they realize their deck isn't legal because they didn't bring the right cards, and it's from a long time ago and they haven't played in a while, but they still take something off the shelf. They didn't take away the grand prize, but they still got in victories and they still got a feel for the game and got a sense of what it's like to play with other people. And that is a very exciting entry point.
And it's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, a lot of people. Yes, and I think that If anything, with any kind of game, this is one thing that I'll point to people when they're saying, oh, I want to start out, what's the best deck? The best deck is the deck that you can learn to play with quickly and that you can get comfortable with easily. The best deck for a new player isn't the deck with the highest power level because, and I think this is a very frank way to put it, but at the same time I think it's true. It's very true for me and my learning curve with any of the games that I play. When you're new to a game, you're usually going to lose against much more experienced players. The key isn't having the best deck to beat them with right out of the gate. It's how you learn from those matches and from those gameplay opportunities. And the best way to do that is by knowing what you're dealing with and being comfortable with the cards in your hand.
Now, Adam, how would you say for a returning player using these decks?
Well, I think that for a returning player, these offer just as good an entry point. You might say, well, I was playing 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I've still got my deck from back in the day. Can't I just take that out and play it? You may be able to, but you may not, because a lot of things change in trading card games over time. One issue that you run into is different cards become legal and illegal as time goes on based on what decisions are made. So the fact that you have a deck that it's all cards, they're all part of the game, they might not all be legal in the event that you want to go to or the tournament you want to play in. And if that's something that you're looking at as far as organized play goes, you don't want to sign up with a deck of cards and then be told, oh, these are no longer valid.
And then they add, and throughout the years, they'll add new characteristics to each deck, right? So for a returning player, it's almost like this is the best way when you pick up a recent deck to get a sense of, oh, what has been going on? What is this new thing that we're able to do with this card and all that and so forth? And that's when you began to learn and all that and so forth. So I would say this sort of recap with how does one get back into the game, or how does one get started in a trading card game? And as Adam alluded to, you could pick up a deck and join any of the tournaments at your local card shops. And with that, we're going to move on to the next exciting question, which is, what happens if I don't really want to play, but I just want to collect? Adam spoke a little bit about it the other day, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth later on.